Great. Aaron, thank you so much for inviting me again to present as part of your forum. It's really exciting, the work that you're doing, and great to be reconnecting. I'm Robert Politzer. I'm the founder and CEO of GreenStreet Global. We are a climate tech company with a mission of profitable decarbonization. And we've recently updated our holistic turnkey program that we now refer to as our Asset Max program. And of course, commercial real estate owners, what they are most concerned about is optimizing the value of their assets. And that is what this program is all about. The interesting thing about this program, though, is that by virtue of upgrading the facilities that we work on, lowering operating costs, which will also include lowering utility costs and lowering the use of fossil fuels, our program decarbonizes buildings as an additional value add component. So what we're looking to do is to cut costs. That's how we want to begin. We want to increase the net operating income and value of the building, and then we want to also future-proof the assets. So we liken ourselves as a strategic asset optimization partner for commercial real estate and commercial real estate owners. Our program is intended to be a lifelong program. We have a number of new vendors and partners coming online all the time. That will continue to be the case for years to come. And so we want to be bringing value to our clients with our initial engagement and long-term with all the additional value add components of our program that will evolve over time. So our program is performance-based, which is really, as a developer myself, that's very important for me personally. I've had a lot of vendors come our way and not provide the value that they pledge to perform. And so ours is performance-based. And there's little, if no, upfront capital required. And we'll talk more about that as I go through this presentation. So we will start with a custom upgrade and optimization plan. That would be the first step of our program. And, we do that with AI. And so we'll lay out the whole program and phased in over time. And then so that the client has a really good idea for where we're beginning, where this will evolve to over time, and what the initial and long-term improvement in net income and value will be for the property. Our program is going to include energy and water efficiency integrations, a phased implementation strategy, as I said, and then modeled payback with IRR as we continue to upgrade the building. So what we've started out with recently, what we've developed is our Asset Max audit program. I'm going to go through a proposal we sent out recently to the University of Michigan with our audit, which includes all those components I've talked about so far. But our audit includes two of our partners that look at cost-saving solutions. I told you we begin with cutting costs. So what we do, which is really unique, is that we look at the entire spectrum of all of the cost centers, from the building-related, utility-related cost savings to the operating business cost savings. So we have 60 different cost centers that we look at to unearth, turn over every potential cost-saving stone, if you will, that we can. Think of this as a very, very high-level, tax and revenue audit that one of these big five firms would do, but more building related and more operating cost related. So we will start, excuse me, our two of our partners will begin with their audits. Their audits are conducted in-house with their own auditors. This is what they do every day. Both of these partners of ours have been in business over 15 years and have tremendous track record to share with the clients as needed. And so they both of our partners will do audits with their own auditors and will come up with a report, a high-level report to document all of the savings opportunities that were found in the audit. When those reports are submitted, it's an almost 100% guarantee that those savings will be achieved if we move to the next step. So we would provide the report, have a follow-up meeting. The client will look over the report, and then they'll authorize us to proceed. When they authorize us to proceed is when we will get paid and advance towards the savings. If we don't find those savings, that advance will be refunded. There's really, I don't think we've ever had a circumstance when we don't find some sort of savings. Uh, and so Again, it's important to understand that the client will only pay on verified savings. Ours is a shared savings model. The the more money we save the client, the more money we make. So that's why we look at ourselves as joint venture partners with the client. So step one, a holistic, full spectrum cost savings audit with some leading partners, leading edge partners who we work with. We also have another partner that will do an energy assessment. They so they will look at all the energy consuming equipment and give an assessment for the level of performance of all that technology. That's included in our initial our asset max audit. So after we get the savings and the audit completed, we'll also look at utility procurement and energy hedging. So what a lot of folks don't realize is that in states like Maryland that are deregulated, a commercial client can work with a brokerage firm that we include in our program, who will then conduct competitive bidding for their gas and electricity contracts. What we can do then is we will select the best overall pricing from the competitive bidders. That pricing will get locked into a new service contract that will engage once the existing contracts expire. So it's almost like energy is hedging because we can get the best pricing as of today, lock that in, and even if it takes 12 months for the existing uh, gas and electricity contracts to expire, that pricing will remain in place. So that's the supplier renegotiation piece. We also, as part of this, do demand response and peak shaving, which is an absolute no-brainer. We work with a nationwide company that does this all the time. There is almost always savings to be found through this demand response and peak shaving. So after we do our cost saving solutions, which includes the energy hedging, basically, every possible cost saving strategy that we and I have learned about over the last 27 years of doing this business. That's what we're bringing to our clients. After that, we want to work on the building. We want to upgrade the performance of the building. And with that, we're going to function as we have for 27 years as a construction project manager. We're going to work with an array of vendors who are all curated and vetted, and so we will work with them as part of our team. We bring the entire team together. We will also, as I'll mention shortly, we will bring financing as well. And then we're going to work to upgrade the building. As I said, we've been doing this for 27 years now. So what we're going to first look to do is to install quick wins together. And there are two technologies in particular that are just fantastic for that purpose. One is a water valve, building-wide water valve, which will lower overall water, the cost of the water, and add about 15 to 20% savings, lowering the amount of water that's actually used. I'll explain a little bit later how that's done. We also have an amazing nanotechnology window membrane, which will lower heating and cooling costs by up to 40%. This membrane's been installed in hotels around the world. It's an extraordinary product. It's the best in its class. So if we do our cost savings and then we simply install the water valve and the window membrane, that right there is going to be a substantial improvement in asset performance and asset value. But from there, we're going to move on to looking at the HVAC. Now, once we install the window membrane technology, that's going to substantially lower the amount of heat loss and heat gain, we can then upgrade the HVAC equipment where if it has to be replaced, we can replace it with a lesser amount, a smaller system because there will be less heating and cooling loads. That's going to save on first cost. That's also going to save on operating costs. So as we do the window membrane and work on the building shell, then we would look at HVAC optimization. We're going to look at proprietary water savings, as I already said. We're going to look at other revenue enhancing strategies like EV charging stations or solar PV installations. We're functioning now as a developer. We're looking to optimize the asset value of the projects that we're working on. So that's the second step, is when we actually work on the building. Now, critically important is that it's absolutely true that that upgrading a commercial building is an expensive and very involved process. It costs a lot of money. And yet our promise to our clients is that we can actually do our building upgrades with zero net cost. So how do we do that? Well, first and foremost, we start off with the cost saving solutions on a shared savings model. But once we move into the actual building upgrade, we will bring financing to finance 100% of the costs, all the soft and the hard costs, the engineering costs, the construction costs of upgrading the building. We work with a number of different financing strategies and sources. CPACE is just one of them. It works for some situations. It doesn't work for everything. What we found is that there's not one single financing solutions that works for every single scenario. So we have an array of strategies. CPACE is one, mezzanine or private financing, on-bill, off-balance sheet financing for those clients who are tapped out with their ability to borrow. And then some of our vendors provide their own financing as well. And we also work with a financing platform specifically for energy efficiency upgrades. The last I heard, they've got something on the order of 200 to 300 different opportunities and vendors that we can tap into. So our zero net cost upgrade is real simple. The cost of the financing cost of the loans, lending that we would bring to pay for 100% of the costs is almost always lower than the savings that the upgrade brings. So that's the zero net cost building upgrade. So starting with cost savings on a shared savings model, then moving into a building upgrade done with zero net cost to the client with 100% financing. That's another part of our component that we believe is really quite extraordinary. So we go beyond that, though. Once you do these building upgrades, there are various utility incentives, and there are also tax deductions, federal tax deductions. There's the 179D energy efficiency deduction. We've got 3 different partners to work on to get that secured for our clients. If the client has invested outside of the work with us on engineering and other sorts of, for upgrading the building any other way, we can look at R&D tax credits for the client. Then there's going to be state and utility rebates, and then it will be CPA ready documentation. So along with the cost saving solutions, we're also looking at tax savings and other utility incentives. So once we upgrade the building, it's critically important to train the maintenance staff to maintain the building in that high level. So we will provide that on-site and or virtual training on sustainable operations and best practices to maintain this higher level of performance that we've achieved with our program. We also have an AI-powered predictive maintenance solution that we will offer. So this is to be, the intention is to get ahead of issues with the performance of all your technology. So this is forward-looking predictive maintenance that we can provide as part of our program. And then, of course, continuous monitoring. So not only are we looking at predictive maintenance, but we're also monitoring the building on an ongoing basis to make sure that we're maintaining that high level of performance. Especially in certain situations, it's important to engage the tenants. So in those situations, we can do tenant dashboards and educational campaigns for the clients. That's going to be an on a project by project basis as needed. I'm a former, I'm a former adjunct professor from NYU. I've done a lot of professional training. This is something we're very familiar with. And then again, we're looking at long-term partnerships. It's the idea of upgrading buildings to leading edge high performance standards is not some it's not a one and done. It's something that's going to have to be done initially, then maintained, and then continually upgraded. And so that's going to be our greatest value to our clients, is to maintain this long-term partnership and relationship. So our five pillars: we look to find the money through cost savings, we fund the upgrades, we provide the and install the wins, prove and protect performance, and then grow asset value, which is the name of the game, which is our program, what our program is all about. Incidentally, when we apply this program to commercial buildings in Maryland above 40,000 square feet that all have to comply with the Maryland climate law, our program is going to bring that building into full compliance with that law. So that is another value add component to this program that we believe is really quite extraordinary. This is why right now we're focusing on New York and Boston and Maryland and California, where there are these mandates. Now, as you know, for our featured offerings here, let me just briefly run through some of the more important offerings that we have in our program. So this is, National Utilities Refund. This is a company we've been working with for about 18 years. They do the utility auditing with their own staff. 80% of the time they find savings. The worst that comes of engaging with our auditors, with this group and the other group, is you get a high level audit of all your utilities and all your operating costs. And if no savings are found, what you can know is that you're not being ripped off by any one of those vendors, or you're not overpaying to those utilities. So it adds value, even if we don't find savings. But to this date, we have never not found any savings. So this is their proposal summary, and excellent company. This is the information sheet that the client will have to fill out to get them the information they need. So then this is our company called ERA Group. They do the operating cost audits. This is an international company, very sophisticated. They do a lot of very, very high work with a lot of high-level corporate clients, and they are excellent. They have this spend view platform they use to upload all of the costs for the client, the accounts payable, and then this spend view will do almost an instant analysis on projected savings opportunities. And these guys, as I said, they cover 50 different categories. Our first group covers 10 utility categories. This is 50 different OPEX categories that these folks will do. Now turning to the window membrane, the window solution, which is really extraordinary for energy efficiency. This is the best bang for the buck I have ever found in my entire 27 years of working this. You know, it's something that gets installed. It takes about 15 minutes to install. It gets installed on the interior of a window. It does not impact the views at all. You look through this glass with this membrane. It looks like the regular view, so it's not like a tinted, colored, window film. And the performance metrics are extraordinary. So first of all, it's going to lower ultraviolet rays by 95%. It's going to lower infrared rays by about 70 to 95%. Again, daylight reduction is only 12%, 10-year warranty, and return on investment usually 2 to 3 years. It costs about $18 a square foot installed, fully installed. And the beauty of this is that for single situations where there are single pane windows, this membrane can be installed to that single pane window, and that combination will perform better than triple pane argon filled high performance windows. It's an extraordinary product, and it's just a no-brainer. And so we always want to be installing that early on. This is another simple solution. This is a refrigerant that gets added to the cooling towers. It's going to improve the performance of the cooling system by between 15 to 20%. For hotels, this is an amazing technology. This is a hotel room automation platform with their own proprietary technology. It will automate every aspect of the hotel room. It also has a digital thermostat that will lower the energy costs for the PTAC units. Really fantastic product. This elevates a hotel to modern leading edge standards with this technology. And then finally, and very important, we talked about the water savings. So we've got three different vendors. We can that look. First one, this vendor looks at water savings in the interior of apartments or hotel rooms, and they have their own proprietary shower flow controller and toilet leak prevention. But they also have the smart water valve, which is gonna lower water costs by 15 to 20%. We have another water savings vendor that works on landscaping, and then a third one that works on cooling tower water. So that is a good quick overview on our Asset Max program. I'm not sure if we have any more time for me to show you the audit, the proposal for our Asset Max audit. Do we have any time for that? Yes?
Whoops, I was on mute. I'm sorry. Yes, we do have time. Go for it.
Okay, good. So let me, I just had that uploaded and give me a moment. Do you have it as I pull this up?
Take your time.
Yeah.
You didn't want to take some questions while we're going through
Yeah,
this? Okay.
sure. Yeah.
So I guess the first question I had is, how are multifamily property owners and property managers embracing your solutions?
Um, Very well, especially with this new updated version of our program, right?
Hmm.
Because there's not a single property owner I have ever met that does not want to optimize and maximize the asset value and the net operating income of their building. And
Hmm.
when they see our comprehensive program, they understand that we've got a lot of tools that we deploy.
Hmm.
But what has been critically important that we've come to learn is that it can be overwhelming. There's a lot to this. Listen, completely updating a commercial building is a large undertaking. It's
Yeah.
a large undertaking. A lot of moving parts, a lot of different players and vendors and financing, right? So what we want to do is keep it really, really, really simple at the beginning.
Hmm.
So that's why we are going to begin with our Asset Max audit. And I'm going to pull one up for you right now as an example, give you an idea for what that looks like. So we begin with our audit, and again, tremendous value. This is the kind of thing that every commercial property owner should do, but very often they don't do it. And so this is how we will begin. Absolutely will bring value. So this is our proposal to the University of Michigan. And it's okay for me to be sharing their name here. Um, and so this is our cost and energy optimization audit. This is how we will begin with our clients. And so this is going to include utility building recovery and rate optimization, operating cost review across 60 different cost centers, facility level energy and building performance assessment with our other energy uh, partner. And then we will provide, report on the findings to the client. And then again, once we document the savings, then the next step will be to implement the savings through this program. And for those clients who are interested, what we would also like to do is, along with implementing this cost savings, we would like to implement at a minimum the water valve because we can get that financed. It would be no net cost to the client. And that's going to be a win right away for us with the client. So while we're waiting for the results of the audit to come through, we can do that water valve installation. The day after it's installed, the saving shows up. So, that's what clients need. They need to know that this is real, with actionable, verifiable results. So, that's how we proceed at the very beginning. We don't want to overwhelm clients. We want to bring optimal value at the beginning. And frankly, with my 27 years experience, I don't know a better way to bring value to our clients than through this combination of our audit and then the installation of one or both of our low hanging fruit installations. So that's how we begin our program. From there, that would be our first main step with the client. We would already have saved them money, already have the building operating somewhat better. Then we're going to start looking at the bigger issues. We're going to look at the HVAC right from there. We're going to look at all the energy consuming equipment in the building to upgrade that, the water consuming equipment in the building, upgrade that, right? And while we're doing this and upgrading and making the building more performance, this is when the decarbonization happens. And there's no extra charge for the decarbonization. So I've heard so many times, and you have also, I'm sure, Aaron, that clients are like don't want to do decarbonization because they believe it's so expensive. It's
Mm.
very expensive. And yes, if you go down a conventional route and you hire an engineer and then you hire a general contractor, it is going to be very expensive. Our program, with the 27 years that of experience that I brought to this and that we and experience we have, is really extraordinary in that it's really zero net cost building upgrades, which includes the decarbonization.
Love it. Love it. So I've got a few other questions. Do you have a few more minutes?
Sure. So let me stop the share.
So what
Yep.
would you say are some of the barriers to adoption, and how are you actively overcoming them?
So the barriers to adoption have been almost exclusively around when we were pitching this holistically and just overwhelming clients. So,
Mm.
finally, I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. And finally, it occurred to us, and I'd heard this from other people, you got to break this down into simpler, steps. You have to have a very simple step where you're going to secure wins for the client. So that's what we've done. And so now, all of the presentations we've made so far with this updated program has been very, very positive, and we
Mhm.
believe that we have addressed this issue of getting that first step, cracking open the door with the client through the asset max audit. And by the way, if the client just wants to say, no, you know what, tell you what, just install that water valve. Just do that first. I want to see, right? No problem. We can do that as a first step. So the point is to take a first, step to bring real results, actionable, verifiable results, and then start working from there.
Got it. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Ecolo Synergy Window Solution?
Yes.
Is that just for commercial, or is that for residential homes as well?
So, uh, so since we got involved with that window membrane, all I see now when I walk around New York City are windows, windows, windows. Oh my God, look at those windows, windows everywhere. You know, and and um and so this will work. There's not a single window.
If it has a window, it works, basically.
If it has a window, it works. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because it mitigates heat loss and heat gain. So if you install this on windows in Miami, it's going to be working most of the time to to minimize the amount of heat gain into the space, right? If this is installed in Montreal, where the company is from, it's going to work much more of the time to minimize the heat loss out of the space. So it will work in any season.
Got it. Got
And
it.
there's not a single window, so the director of business development up in Montreal installed this on his home,
Hmm.
and I have the performance. He has lowered his energy bills by on the order of 30%.
Wow. Wow. Just from the solar gain. Wow.
Yeah, from the loss of, listen, windows are, obviously that's the biggest way that heat is lost and gained in buildings.
Hmm.
Even if you got high performance windows, it's still the highest, source of loss and gain of heat.
So, so I guess I have a question. How is your organization kind of navigating the split incentive between, property owner and maybe a corporate tenant, and you know, um, the owner of the property not wanting to make improvements to the property that would benefit the tenant, and the tenant not wanting to make improvements to the property that would then benefit the owner? Like, how do you overcome that split incentive in your business?
So right now, how we overcome that is we steer clear of split incentive scenarios. Okay, so we're focused on
Owner-occupied buildings,
owner-occupied
hotels.
buildings, hotels, senior living, nursing homes. There's a ton of verticals that this works for. Um, what we would do is if we have a client who or somebody we know who has a client that they have got a strong relationship with, if
Mhm.
they're a large enough client and they're open. We what we would do is we would steer it towards the tenant because if it's a triple net lease, they're paying for all the utilities, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where it gets really complicated though is sometimes you have the HVAC equipment that is building wide,
Mm,
and yet so and that you got the space,
mhm,
that the corporation is in that they're leasing.
mhm.
They're paying for their heating bills because it's separately metered, but then who's going to pay for the upgrade of the HVAC in that scenario?
So
Split
maybe when it's sub-metered, it makes it a little bit easier, a little bit more palatable to, in theory.
in theory, but like I said, unless in special circumstances, right now we're not working on split incentive scenarios.
Understood, understood. So, you know, the term sick building syndrome
Mm.
was not a thing prior to the 1970s energy crisis, right? And for those that aren't aware, the 1970, the oil debacle, the oil, emergency that we had in the 1970s caused a huge energy crisis here in the United States where building owners were, trying to make their buildings as tight and as energy efficient as possible, which was great. But what happened is they, reduced some of the mechanical ventilation and they were just ventilating for, minimum standards and to remove for odor control, basically, not necessarily for the health and wellness of the building occupant. And I'm often concerned with laws like Local Law 97 and the Maryland Climate Solutions Now Act and other, building energy performance standards that we could be, reliving that scenario where we're making the building so energy efficient. And then here in Maryland, by, removing the gas and the combustion, the assumption is that healthy indoor air comes along for the ride, and that's not always true.
Oh no.
Actually, no, it's not true because I measure air quality in every building that I go into. I've been in net zero buildings. I've been in buildings with gold, lead, platinum, all the environmental certifications, and the indoor air quality is horrendous
Yeah.
because the focus has been on energy efficiency and not, kind of a public health layer. So, um, where, how do we prevent a continuation of sick building syndrome by focusing on energy? What have we learned from COVID to make these healthier, smarter, more high performing buildings?
Well, I can tell you what we do is we work with you.
Good answer.
with you- with your indoor air quality solution, which is fantastic, which I love, especially for hotels. Um, and listen, I am BPI certified in both single family and multifamily.
Hmm.
I'm educated in building science, which is what this is all about.
Hmm.
And so for our projects, of course, we're going to be very careful to make sure that any tightening that we do to the building shell is equaled out with the mechanical ventilation that is done, right?
Right.
That's what you have to have good quality mechanical ventilation with air with energy recovery,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So so it's really understanding building
Hmm.
science, and
Hmm.
I and we are mindful of that. Um, how this gets prevented in the state of Maryland with this new law, I'm not sure because it's ironic that even with lead has some IAQ
Hmm.
components,
Hmm.
but still to
Optional,
optional.
up until lead version 5, which is, if you want to get the air quality points, you have to use a reset accredited monitor. So, yeah,
Yeah, but it has historically
correct,
it has
correct.
not been emphasizing IAQ, which has been crazy because to your point, sick building syndrome was a major issue. And, if you remember what really initiated the whole movement was that the EPA built a new building, I think in 1982 or 83.
Hmm.
I think it was in Washington, D.C. Brand spanking new building, energy efficient. So to your point, they lowered the amount of outside air for energy efficiency reasons, right? But they didn't provide enough ventilation. But then they loaded the building up with relatively inexpensive FF&E, so tables and chairs and seats and all that, right? And all that, especially if it's lower cost with pressed wood, it's got toxic chemicals that's going to be are going to be off gassing.
Right.
And so within the first couple of weeks there were numerous people calling in sick. That's how sick building syndrome was
Yeah.
really initiated.
Yep. Yep.
So so you're absolutely right about that, and that's where you have to. to get the optimal solution for building, you have to do it on a holistic basis.
And
You
you have
can't,
to validate, and you have to validate on the
and you
back
have
end.
to validate.
I think that's
Yes,
one of the things that one of the standout features about what you're offering is that back end validation as well.
100%. You have to.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally. So, folks, you heard it here first. Robert Politzer. Robert Politzer is probably one of the main reasons why we have a Maryland or Baltimore Climate Tech event. I first heard Robert speak on Local Law 97. It had to be in spring of 2022. I was a residential agent with EXP at that time, and I heard Robert talk about Local Law 97, this new climate law that was coming to New York, and all the different things that buildings needed to do in order to comply. And then while you were speaking, I Googled, does Maryland have a climate law? And lo and behold, 2 months prior, Maryland passed its climate law as well, and the light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, wow, I think this is an opportunity for me, and I decided to leave residential. I joined commercial, and then hired Robert as my mentor. And so everything that I know about energy efficiency, I mean, you can see the energy that he brings to the table. Everything that I know, I contribute to him as my mentor. So I appreciate that. And it's good to kind of circle back. And I'm now with Keller Williams, but we're still, in relationship and figuring out solutions for the building sector. But I can't thank you enough for your willingness to share and your energy that you bring to the table. I've decided to land in that health and wellness perspective because I think it's an often underlooked component. I mean, in our climate law, I don't know about Local 97, but in our climate law, there is no health and wellness language in there. The only language in there, like I said, is a byproduct of removing combustion, and that again, with our radon issue here in Maryland, is not the solution to the
Right.
healthy environment. So.
Right.
So with that, Robert, I want to thank you for joining us. This is your second year joining us. Thank you for all that you do in New York, in Maryland, in California, in Boston, and throughout the globe. We need people like you in this space.
Thank you, Aaron. It's really, really a pleasure and so great to be reconnecting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your
All
for
right.
your time and your subject matter expertise, my man.
Thank you. Take
Talk
care.
soon. Bye-bye.